Good afternoon, everyone. Actually, I guess it's evening at this point since it is after 5. And welcome to another edition of Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, coming to you live from beautiful Cape May, New Jersey. And it actually is beautiful today. And I'm coming to you via High Plains Pundit Talk Radio and SHR Media, and also streaming live on Facebook. I want to welcome to the Facey Check Latanya, hi, Charlene and Dwight and Tabitha and Harry, hello. I hope you all are doing well. I'm very excited about the guest I have today, and I apologize because I was running late. I didn't confirm how to pronounce his last name. So Joe, who's waiting on the line, Joe Apfelbaum, did I get that right?
Yes, Joe Apfelbaum, A-P-F-E-L-B-A-U-M.
Okay, excellent, excellent. Very excited to have him on the show today. He's going to talk to us about how to become a networking master. He's very interested in this part of his skill set. Hey, Maurice. Hey, Daryl. Welcome. Harry, welcome. God bless you, Tabitha. So I was very interested in this particular aspect of business because, believe it or not, I'm quite shy when it comes to networking, and I try to bring things to my audience that'll help them with their business, and I try to think of things that make me nervous and can be barriers to building your business. And this is one of those things that I feel like people are shy about. And I read a stat the other day that said that 80% of jobs are done by word of mouth, referrals, and networking. So I thought this was a very important topic for us to explore.
Absolutely, absolutely. Networking is one of those things that people are super, super scared of. It's a scary thing. I remember the first time I walked into a networking event and how scared I was because I didn't want to interrupt anybody. I didn't want to be rude. I'm at a networking event, but I don't even know the first thing to do. And at the end of the day, I was afraid of being rejected. Have you ever been afraid of being rejected?
Well, I mean, not me, because I'm awesome, but I'm kidding. No, I'm totally joking. I absolutely can relate to being rejected. Absolutely. And a fear of being rejected. Every audition, every, meeting, interview, absolutely.
So think about it. When you're going to an audition, you're going to one event. When you're going to a networking event, you're going to an audition over and over and over with every single person that you're speaking to. It's nerve-wracking. It's nerve-wracking. So if you don't have a good strategy for how to network in person or how to network over the computer or what to say, it becomes very, very difficult. And a lot of people, they don't have that strategy, and then they wonder why they're afraid. And I'm telling you right now, there is a method to the madness, and I had to figure it out because my business, in order for me to take my business to the next level, I have a digital marketing agency called Ajax Union, and we help companies be able to grow and market them. And what I learned was that in order for me to get really big accounts, I need to network. I need to go out and network with other people, because if somebody's going to spend $100,000 with you, they're not going to just do it off like a Facebook ad or off a random SEO thing, right? They're not just going to click somewhere and spend $100,000. They're going to want to find somebody that they can trust, somebody that they actually like, somebody that came highly recommended, not that they just clicked on something. So in order for me to take my business to the next level, I had to master networking, and I was fortunate enough to surround myself with people that have been doing it for many, many years, and I picked their brains to try to figure out, okay, what do I do? How do I do it both online? How do I do it offline? And now I recently got to the place where I can't learn any more about networking unless I start teaching it to other people. So I created a networking masterclass in 2018, and I'm teaching people that networking is not a random art. It's a strategic and powerful science that if you play the game the right way, you can make your dreams come true. Think about it. Everything you have in your life is as a result of a relationship. Everything. Whether it's your job, whether it's your children, whether it's oftentimes your health, because you have a relationship with your doctor or a relationship with a coach or something. Think about it. Is that right? Is that something that you feel is true for you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Every single transaction is some type of relationship that was developed some kind of way.
Right. So if you can find out the science or like the way, the strategy to build more meaningful relationships, you know, there's a reason why the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie was so popular. It's because, and if you read that book, you'll notice that most of the things he teaches are like very obvious things. They're not like these like big ideas, and you're like, oh, I know that already. And when you hear things that you already know, you might end up just saying, you know, you don't need to hear it. But what I learned when I worked with coaches for many years, and when I'm coaching people myself, it's not about what you know, it's about what you do. Knowledge is not power. Applied knowledge is power.
That is, and listen, I think I shared with you right before we got on the air that I teach, and that right there is the key. You have to actually apply what it is that you learn. Otherwise, the information means nothing.
Yeah, and so many people go to college and they learn all this information, but if you don't apply it, it's not going to help you. You can have an MBA from today till tomorrow, but if you don't actually use it to grow a business or to run a business, you're not going to be able to leverage what you learned. Facts don't make a difference unless you're putting context into it and you're actually using it. So my 3-step process is: number 1, identify; number 2, leverage; and number 3, grow. So a lot of people are just trying to grow before they identify and they leverage, and that's why they get into this state of fear. Because if you're just trying to grow without a strategy, then you're like a weed growing all over the place, and you're getting a lot of rejection. If you can set up your foundation right, you're going to minimize your rejection, which will help you minimize your fear, and it'll make it fun. You don't want to be scared. You want to have a damn good time. You want to walk into a party with your best friends, right?
Very true.
So, you know, think about it. You love spending time with your best friends, and you open up when you're with your best friends, and you have a great time, and you want to have all these experiences. So in order to do that, you've got to first identify. What do you identify? Number 1 is your purpose, why you're networking. Really understand how you can properly show up to a relationship. And if you're not clear with the basics, you're not going to be able to do that. You need to have your goals, your vision, your mission. You need to have your why defined. Otherwise, you're not going to be confident going into a relationship if you not really sure what your mission is, your vision, your purpose for networking, and what you're looking to get. Then you want to figure out, who are the people? Who are your people? I thought all people were my people, but not all people are my people. I resonate with entrepreneurs. I resonate with people that have high levels of energy. That accountant that looks at me and rolls his eyes every time I jump up and down like a maniac, that's not my people.
Well, let me ask you something about this. Now, I'm very politically active. I'm between the media and politics. I have a lot of contacts, and I do an awful lot of networking, right? Well, I'm going to backtrack on that and say that I don't do a lot of networking. I go to a lot of events where I should be networking. and I'm not really, like, I'm an accidental networker, and I would bet that in my audience I'm not alone on that. And I've heard what you said before about being deliberate, about kind of being focused, but it feels like when you do that it could mean that you're not into it. Is there a way to do that and still have that authenticity?
So the best way to have authenticity is to actually be yourself and not fake it. Some people say fake it till you make it. I say don't fake it at all. Be yourself. But how can you be yourself if you don't know who yourself is? How can you be yourself if you don't have your goals, your vision, your mission, your why defined? If you don't have a clear target and you don't understand what you like and the types of people that you like and the types of people that you want to meet, and you don't have a clear understanding about what you're passionate about, what you're excited about, what you value in other people, what value you bring to the table, what your message is, what your passion is, what your stories are. If you're not sure what those are and they're not clearly articulated, it's going to be very hard for you to actually genuinely be authentic and connect with people in a genuine way. And that's why most people get rejected, because they're fake. You walk into a relationship fake, that's the fastest way to get rejected or not get noticed at all. You see, I love to rap. It's one of the things I love to do. That's why I can play music like this. You know, I can just get right into it. I don't know if you hear the music in the background.
I can.
So I like to I have a beat machine on my desk, and I just can hit the beat, and it's connected to a mixer, and the mixer is connected to my soundboard, and I just can put it right into a conference call and throw music on and start just going. But a lot of people, they don't appreciate that, and some people appreciate it very, very, very much. So much so that when I just spit a beat at them, they want to become my best friend because they love just chilling and vibing and doing. So what happens is when you're prolific, when you're not mainstream, when you're prolific, you start finding your tribe, you start finding your people, and then you start making deep, meaningful, genuine, and authentic relationships versus just having a whole bunch of people that you kind of know. You don't want to know people. You want people to know you.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, and so basically what I hear you saying is you have to add your kind of own personal flavor to it, right?
Flavor. Yes, you need to have your flavor. And what you need to do is you need to make sure that that flavor is authentic, that it's really you, that you're not just putting on a show just to put on a show. You got to be the real deal.
And I think that's a lot of the problem at a lot of these events where there's going to be a fair share of networking going on. There are so many people joining the chat right now. I'm guessing that I am not alone. And many of the people that I know do a lot of networking. I've networked with many of the people that are in the Facebook chat. I want to give a shout out to Al Ashworth, Tom Basta, hi, Philip, hello. They're all in the Facey chat. I had to say hello to my peeps in the Facebook chat, but especially some of them I haven't talked to in a while. But I find it to be, I personally find it very challenging in that situation to network. And I am shy, despite what people are saying in the chat. I'm very shy. But so how, once you decide, you identify who you're going to target, did I say target? You identify who you're going to target. It's the right word, right?
Yeah, once you identify who you're going to target, yes.
Then how do you go about breaking the ice? Now, many times you already have something in common because you're at an event or something, and typically those events, part of the deal, like everybody knows, is your networking. So is that already an icebreaker, or?
So what are the icebreakers, right? An icebreaker is trying to find something that you have in common with somebody else. So if your location is that you're an event with somebody, automatically the fact that you're both there, you have things in common with that person because you're both there. So you're trying to find commonality because when you find likeness, you build rapport. And rapport is how you connect as a human being. You ever speak to somebody and it's just not working? It just doesn't work? It's because you're not building rapport. You can build rapport by mirroring somebody and by just doing what they do, by sitting how they sit, by mirroring their body language. You can actually build rapport doing that. Or you can build rapport emotionally by connecting to the person and learning about them and asking questions. So most people don't ask enough questions. Let me ask you a question. Are you a question asker, Melanie? Do you ask a lot of questions?
I'm a question asker by profession because I'm a teacher and an adjunct professor. So I ask a lot of questions. But when I network, I do not ask a lot of questions. I'm very bad.
That's where the problem lies. People love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about themselves. So when you're networking, the most important thing you can do is ask questions, but also share. Some people say, oh, ask, and don't say anything. That's when you're trying to sell. You ask, and don't say anything, and you speak 10% of the time. But when you're building a relationship, you want to speak 50% of the time. So you want to share and then ask. Share and then ask, and then share. And this way, you make it into a relationship where you're kind of like driving it and leading the dance, because most people want to be led. People want to be led. So if you can be a networking leader and you can lead people through a dance, you're going to make them feel like the pressure's off on them having to perform. They could just be them and you're taking them through the dance. So some icebreakers are talking about the weather, talking about their clothing, talking about why they're here, who you know in common, your background, where you're from, What do you love to do? Again, you have to already have your story set up. You already have to have your identity set up. You got to identify your purpose, your people, and your passion so you can bring the value to them and tell them the stories in a very short, concise way, and then ask them questions. Say, hey, do you have any kids? I have 5 kids, and my oldest is so creative. Do you have any kids? And then they answer, and then you can talk about yours, they talk about theirs, and you have instant rapport. Does this make sense?
It makes total sense. It makes total sense. I'm always thinking, particularly when I'm at events where you typically network, that everybody is thinking the same thing. Like everybody's trying to game the other person up, and that's part of what makes me nervous. And that could just be my own insecurity that I probably need to talk to a professional about, or or maybe it's common among people who are new at it. What do you think?
I think that it's very, very common for people to be stressed out when they're in a networking environment because you feel like you have to, you feel like you want to get the opportunity. You feel like you're going to miss on some opportunity if you don't capitalize on that opportunity. And when you have the pressure that you have to do something and you have to get the opportunity, it's very, very difficult. One of the things that I teach in my master class, and one of the biggest insights that I teach in the first 3 classes of my virtual networking mastermind masterclass, is that I teach people that you have to go in there just to add value. The pressure's off. You don't have to make any money off networking. The money comes in when you add value. When you give, you get. They say givers gain. So if you want to gain, you need to give first. So when you're coming in there, you need to be of service. The first thing that I ask somebody, or the last thing that I ask somebody when I meet with them and I build a relationship with them and I actually want to have a relationship, you know what I say? I say, Melanie, what can I do to add value to your life?
Well, okay. That works. But
how would you answer that? Melanie, how would you answer that live right now on the show? What can Joe Apfelbaum do to add value to your life today?
If you could talk to my audience about how to overcome networking obstacles, that would add value.
You see, right there, you see, and this is what I'm doing. I'm adding massive value to you. And not only that, I also shared, while we were talking, I actually shared it to my audience as well. So hopefully we'll get a bunch of people from my audience to tune in as well. So what's interesting is that you want to go network with other people because that's how you're going to get everything you have in your life. And any goal that you have in your life, you need to share with those people because you need to have it set up in advance. And once you are confident with what you want, and then you're confident enough that you can, one of the fears that people told me is that I walk into an event, who am I to say, what can I add value to your life? Who am I? How do I know that I even can add a value? What if they say you should add value?
Yes!
They ask me to do something and then I can't do it and I feel like an idiot that I can't deliver.
Yes!
Like, well, ask, right?
Yeah, listen, absolutely. I mean, a lot of times when I'm at these events, I'm with friends of mine or something that are typically veterans, particularly in media because my show is fairly new. It's only a little over a year old. And usually I'm with someone that we'll meet somebody important or influential or whatever. And, my friend will say, tell this person about such and such and tell them about your show. And then sometimes, depending on which friend I'm with, they'll just go ahead and pitch my show for me. And then they'll say, like, you should have done that. Like, you could have done that. Why did you not do that?
Right. And
yeah.
At the end of the day, it's easier to pitch somebody else than for you to pitch yourself. So you have to take the pressure off. You have to take the pressure off and not pitch. It's not about pitching, but it's about connecting and trying to be present with the other person. I went to this networking event and this coach gave a presentation about connecting. And there are 2 different ways to connect with human beings. You can either connect with their facts or you connect with their presence. If you're trying to connect with people's facts, you're trying to collect data and be an investigator and learn about whether or not they're worthy to be in your network. But if you're just trying to connect with someone's presence, then you're connecting with who they are in that moment. So if you want to take the pressure off, I can say, hey, Melanie, what does it feel like to be you today? What does it feel like to be you today? Tell me.
What does it feel like to be? It's exhausting being me some days, but for the most part, it's awesome.
Why is it exhausting? Why is it exhausting to be you?
Because I'm a little bit of a perfectionist and I'm always looking to do things better. And that can be unnecessarily stressful.
What's an example of something that you are always trying to make better? Like something that you really, really want to get right?
Well, my show, for example, I think we ran a little bit late, and I have to apologize to my audience for that because I was experimenting with a new speaker. I was actually changing back to an old speaker that I thought was better than a speaker I used yesterday, and it ended up being I would naturally describe it as a catastrophe, but it wasn't. Wasn't that deep. It wasn't that deep. But
do you see how I got you talking?
Yeah.
You see how I got you talking? I got you alive. You're talking about your show. You love your show. Could you imagine if you made people feel like that at a networking event? Like, how likable would you be if you finished a conversation, you had a 5-minute conversation, I asked you what it feels like to be you, you told me that you're stressed out, I asked you why, you told me about your show, boom, 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 I asked you a few questions about your show, and then I said, you know what, why don't we connect? Give me your contact information, let's keep talking about this, because I love going on shows and blah, 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 and you're like, yes, you're amazing. And I didn't have to say much. I just had to connect with who you are and who you are being. And you felt noticed. You felt understood and you felt loved in that moment. And that's what connection's about.
That's good stuff. Now, does this only work in a one-on-one environment? Like, do you, there's an entire online community that you can network with. But I have a friend who's an entrepreneur, and almost exclusively, he told me, he gets most of his clients on social media networks like LinkedIn, which I find to be amazing. And as much social media as I do, and he tried to teach me, but it just went over my head. As much social media as I do, I still can't. I think it's a matter of boldness. Do you need a level of boldness when you're not in a face-to-face environment?
It's all a matter of getting used to. So for example, with social media, right? Most people don't know how to use social media like LinkedIn because they don't use LinkedIn. If I ask you how many hours a day you use LinkedIn, probably not an hour a day, right? You probably don't invest an hour a day using LinkedIn. And because you don't spend maybe even 15, 20 minutes a day, you may not even be so familiar with the way that the technology works and with who the people are that are actually active and actually being active. And you may have a few thousand people that you're connected to or a few hundred people, and you may not even know who they are. So that's why when I teach my master class, I teach people how to leverage their existing relationships on social media in a 3-step process. Step number 1 is recognize. Step number 2 is strategize. And step number 3 is prioritize. So when you recognize, you have to figure out, okay, who do I know and who knows me? Who do I actually even know on social media? Because it becomes very overwhelming to try to connect with people that you don't even know. And you're connected with so many people that you don't even know. Maybe you noticed their name because you're connected with them on social, but you don't know who they are. So how are you supposed to connect with them? And then you don't even have a strategy to figure out who you even want to get to know. And that's number 2. And number 3 is once you have a strategy, then you prioritize how often you're going to connect with them. Are you going to do a phone call with them? Are you going to do a video chat with them? Are you going to meet with them in person if they're local? What are you going to do in order for you to be able to take the relationship to the next level? Because the way to take a relationship, whether it's online and offline, the way to take it to the next level is to actually have an experience with somebody. So me and you, this is the first real experience that we're having. We're building a relationship that can last for many, many, many years. And I am building a relationship with your audience. And you are building a relationship with my audience. Does this make sense? Does this resonate with you?
It makes perfect sense. It does. And it does resonate with me. Yeah. And I'm sure there are a lot of talented people in my network, talented business people. And I happen to live in no man's land, and networking is a problem. I mean, typically when I network, I'm networking hours away from where I live because I just live in a place that's a little bit behind the times, like maybe 50 years. But there isn't a lot. There are not. Let me use proper English here. There are not a lot of opportunities for face-to-face networking, and so I feel like social media networking works better in a lot of areas. And Jerry McCain in the chat says, you're great at what you do, most of all your honesty and heart. I think he means honor for God is your gift. Oh, that's so sweet. Very nice. Everyone is growing in their strength. My audience is so sweet. My audience is very nice. They're very kind to me. But yeah, I think so. Social media is big everywhere, except for, Mark Zuckerberg's having a couple of issues today, but I think he'll get it straightened out. Maybe.
Hopefully.
Yeah. The hearings are a little intense. I was kind of mad that I had to do my show today and I couldn't finish listening.
The stock is up. The stock is up. And it was down to 150. Now it's up, past 160. So that's great.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's good news. The stock market was only up by about $100 at the close today. It looked like that's where it was headed anyway, around 4. But yeah, so I'm a little bit worried about that. But I do think that is definitely something that people need to look at. So you also talk about leverage as one of the things that you need to use. We only have 3 minutes until the break. Talk a little bit about leverage and what you mean by that.
People oftentimes don't realize how many people they already know. So if you think about your contacts, I look at my contact list and sometimes I get really overwhelmed because I have so many people in my contact list. So who am I supposed to network with? That's because I didn't recognize, strategize, and prioritize. If you can take a moment to really identify who are the most important people for your current goals, because you identified your goals, you identify what you need, and then figuring out who are the people that you like the most and the people that have the most in common with you in terms of passions that can help you get to your goals, then you can create a strategy and then prioritize making sure that you have experiences with those people. And those experiences don't need to be in person. Those experiences could be over the phone. Those experiences could be over video chat. Those experiences could be over you sending them a Facebook message or a LinkedIn message and connecting with them through email. There are many different ways for you to connect with people that you already know that you're not necessarily doing because you're not segmenting and leveraging your existing network. So that when I say leverage, I mean leverage the people that you already know and that already know you and you already build trust. But people are so busy trying to get rich and trying to find new people that they forget about the people that they already built a relationship with, that they need to learn how to leverage and have a reoccurring experience with them on a regular basis.
And you know what? I found it to be a little bit true without even having had the benefit of this information. When I first started to look for sponsors for my show, I reached out to people who had been former guests, people who had been guests on my show, particularly guests that had been on my show, like, more than once. They've been on my show a couple of times. And that I also knew had a product to sell specifically that was being sold online because, the platforms are very similar and it would be easier. And I didn't make it through, I don't know. I didn't make it through 15% of my list before I picked up 2 sponsors. And I was completely shocked. To be honest, why I was shocked, I don't know, but because the leverage you already have. You already have that leverage. Like the same thing. Like when people often ask a lot of questions, but the questions they're asking are often the wrong questions. So when they get answers to the questions, they're not satisfied. You ask the right questions, you'll realize that the answers were always there. Very true. And I'll say that before we run to the break, that I actually started off just kind of advertising that I was taking on sponsors. And I did that for like a couple of weeks and got nothing. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to be more direct about this. And I'm just going to start reaching out to people who have been guests on the show. And picked up a couple like in no time, within like a couple days after I started pitching. It was crazy. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. My guest today is Joe Apfelbaum. He is the CEO of Ajax Union. He's talking to us about how to become a networking master. So happy that all of you are joining me today. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition. Certain government officials remind me of an extreme case of tonsillitis. LOI? Ron Edwards. On today's page from the Edwards Notebook, your tonsils are an important part of your body's immune system. They battle battle nonstop against invading germs and viruses that seek to wreak havoc, especially in your throat area. But there are those occasions when the tonsils succumb to extreme battle fatigue and no longer fight to block the microscopic invaders. In fact, sometimes the tonsils must be removed in order to ensure the recovery of the patient because they've joined the other side. Just as corrupted tonsils that no longer protect the body must be removed, some government officials like Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi, and many others no longer even try to properly carry out their duty to protect America from enemies both foreign and domestic. In fact, many elected officials have become so corrupted like bad tonsils, they are now part of the open border debacle that literally endangers the survival of our republic. McConnell and others are more aligned with and loyal to illegal border crossers than we the people who elect them and pay their decent salaries. Thus, like bad tonsils, they too must be removed. I'm Ron Edwards. Blowing away the myths and revealing the truth. You can continue to blow away the myths with Ron Edwards on Facebook, Twitter, and theronedwards.com. Sponsored by the Tri-County Liberty Coalition.
Ron Edwards, the new voice of America. Who likes paying taxes? Nobody. That's why Eva Rosenberg from TaxMama.com wants you to pay less of them. Read Small Business Taxes Made Easy and learn how legally hiring your spouse and children can slash your taxes. Learn how to set up a business plan that minimizes taxes, the benefits of setting up an exit plan, how to avoid getting audited, and how to legally increase your deductible expenses with better record-keeping techniques. Don't let the IRS squeeze you out of every penny. Visit TaxMama.com. Click on Ask a Tax Question to get free answers to your tax and business questions. That's TaxMama.com.
My name is David Barnett, and I've been helping people buy and sell small and medium-sized businesses since 2008. So far this year, I've gone on 5 vacations. It's because I've got my own business. When you get tired of being managed by someone else and you decide that business ownership is right for you without the risk of starting your own unproven enterprise, then come over to businessbuyeradvantage.com. There are over 100 YouTube videos on buying and selling businesses that you can watch for free. That's businessbuyeradvantage.com.
Welcome to this week's Money Talk Minute with your business diva, Melanie Collette. This week, we talk 2 ways to be properly insured. 1, get more life insurance on top of your employer's policy. This is because often employer insurance is not sufficient to cover your individual or family needs. Number 2, get renter's insurance. Many people overlook this inexpensive but important coverage. Renter's insurance typically covers robberies, vandalism, and natural disasters. But what many people don't realize is renter's insurance may also cover things like medical bills if someone gets hurt at your place, damages you cause at someone else's home, and rent if you have to stay somewhere else because of damage done to your apartment. And that's all for this week's Money Talk Minute. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette. Money Talk with Melanie airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. East, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time, and 2 p.m. West on SHR Media, High Plains Pundit Talk Radio, and streaming live on Facebook. And we're back. You're listening to Money Talk with Melanie. I'm your business diva, Melanie Collette, and my guest today is Joe Apfelbaum. He is the CEO of Ajax Union. He's talking to us today about how to become a networking master. When I saw that he actually, I did not do a traditional open today, and that is completely 150% my fault because I was running late listening to Mark Zuckerberg testimony. Okay, all right, and then my speaker didn't work, so I didn't get an opportunity to ask Joe to tell the audience a little bit about his background, because he actually does more than networking. You take that opportunity now to tell the audience a little more about what specifically, what your background is and what it is that you do before we start digging a little more into networking.
So the name of our company is Ajax Union. I started it 10 years ago. We are a B2B digital marketing agency in New York City. And what we do is we help individuals and companies be able to generate more leads. If you're a B2B business and you're dealing with other businesses, we help you use the internet to generate more leads. So oftentimes our clients have a sales team, and the salespeople they need to be able to call on leads. And we use search, we use social, we use email marketing. We have something called sales enablement, where we enable your sales team to be able to increase the amount of qualified leads that they get by creating assets, by figuring out who your target customer is, the value proposition, the messaging. We create a great marketing strategy for you, and then we create the right assets, the right lead magnets, and the right marketing funnel to be able to help you be able to take leads from the top of the funnel to the bottom line.
So now let me ask you, is your business, though, I get the sense, is not one of those automatically generated type lead situations. A lot of lead companies get a bad rap. What distinguishes your company from other lead generation, lead assisting companies?
So the way that most lead generation systems is, they get a bunch of leads in, and then they sell off those leads to as many people as possible to be able to try to maximize their return on investment. So they, maybe it's a copier company or a payroll company or somebody that does lawns or whatever it is. They're going to buy leads, and oftentimes those leads are going to be really low quality. The way that we're different is we're not actually selling you leads. What we're doing is we're building your business. So the first step to building your business is having a written marketing strategy. Most people don't have a written marketing strategy. If you're watching this live on Facebook, just write, yes, I have a strategy if you have one, and write, no, I don't have a strategy if you don't have a strategy, because most people don't have a strategy. And when I ask somebody, what's your strategy? They're like, oh, it's in my head. And I said, it's got to be down on paper. So they have no idea how to do that. So we have a class, an online class at ajaxunion.com/bootcamp, where we teach you the step-by-step process that you can learn how to go from not having any strategy and having no direction to having a written digital marketing strategy for your business. Step number one, we'll teach you how to create a strategy, or we'll do one for you. And then what we'll do is we'll create the right assets. So you need to have assets that people can download. You need to have landing pages. You need to have email automation series. Like when I do a seminar on LinkedIn, after the seminar, all the participants get a 10-day challenge. Think about that. For the next 10 days, they are still experiencing the seminar. It's very powerful.
It sounds like it, and I'm laughing because I just typed in the Facey chat, no, I don't have a strategy because I don't. And I will tell you that as a teacher, many people I've been asked tons of times about doing some type of online teaching, online seminars, that kind of, and I just haven't had the time. And not for nothing, it's a confidence thing. Like, well, people really sign up for them, but people do them all. Many of my guests, like yourself, do them and swear by them. And I see them on LinkedIn, and I partake. So why wouldn't someone else partake?
Well, the reason, the way that I got started, just so you know, with online courses, creating them, is for 18 months I was trying to do it, and I was procrastinating and thinking to myself, maybe I'll do it and people won't like it. So what I did was, I just said, why don't you go to ajaxunion.com/webinar, sign up for our webinar for free, watch a 30-minute webinar. If you're happy with the webinar at the end, I'm going to make you an offer to buy the boot camp. If you pay for the boot camp and you're not happy with the boot camp, then I'll refund you all your money. You have nothing to lose. And so I said, if a bunch of people buy, then I'll produce the course, because the course is in my head. You're an expert already at something. I'm an expert at marketing strategy. So a bunch of people came to the webinar, and then a bunch of people bought because I offered a 30-day money-back guarantee, and they pay by credit card, so they're backed up. And they all loved it. They all loved the 3-hour marketing course. And boom, now we have it available on demand at ajaxunion.com/bootcamp. And then I started creating my own courses on networking, my own courses on goal setting. And now I'm going to create a course on how to trade on the stock market and make as much money as you want to make, like properly. So it's just fantastic. The ability to take your knowledge and your information and to teach it to other people digitally is amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. I love it. I love it so much. I love that. But the thought of like being up, what I'm about to say is kind of crazy, right? The thought of being up there by yourself and presenting information. One of the things that I love about my show is that I have a guest. I I've done my show by myself several times and they usually go pretty well. The last time I did it, I ended up doing it by myself for some reason. I didn't have a guest and people were like, oh my gosh, can you do this at least once a week? And I was like, really? Because I felt like, oh no, it's the whole show with just me. So, this is like what
very hard. If you don't have that interaction, it becomes very, very, very difficult. And it's also scary because your head starts saying, are you really saying this? Does this make sense? And then you got to retake it and retake it and retake it and retake it and retake it. So this is what I do. I invite people to a Zoom call like this and I interact with them. So when I do the course, I'm not doing the course just me talking to the wall. I come up with the slides and then I'm teaching it to people real time and then I'm asking them questions through the chat, through the Zoom chat.
Yeah.
So just like I chatted with you on Zoom, and then I record the whole thing and then I make that available online. Every single day, I post a 10-minute video of me doing something called Mojovation. I have this Facebook group, which I encourage everyone watching this to join, called facebook.com/groups/Mojovation, MOJOVATION. So, and what I do is I create Mojovation. And my goal this year was to create 1,000 minutes of Mojovation, to be able to help other people take their life to the next level. And so far, I've done over probably 700 minutes of Mojovation, so I got another 300 minutes left to do. And the way that I do that is I have a live audience that shows up for me, and I motivate them. And I just go for it, and there's a topic, I pick the topic, and I just start going and going and going, and I set my timer. I have a little timer here. You can't see it because I'm not sharing my video, but I have a little timer here in my hand called the time timer, which I set to 10 minutes. And when 10 minutes are up, I press N and I say, so if you do that, you will get motivated. And I just end it.
That's great. That's fantastic. Now, I want to talk about one more thing before we close. The last part of a marketing strategy, right? I'm sorry, not a marketing strategy. Your networking strategy is to grow your network, right? We talked about starting out, right? And then we talked about leveraging. And then the last piece of that is growing the existing network. And how does that work?
So the way growing your network is once you identify you have your purpose, your people, and your passion, and then you leverage, which is have you recognize, strategize, and prioritize, then you can get into grow mode, which is creation, location, and action. Growing your network in a sustainable way is all about adding new relationships and going deeper with the current relationships you already have. It begins with content, information, having the right messaging that adds value, being clear on how you deliver that message, and understanding the quality and the quantity of your messaging. I'll give you an example. I post something on my Facebook every single day. I post something on my LinkedIn every day. I post something on my Twitter every single day. I post something on my Instagram every single day. As a matter of fact, I'm on Instagram Live right now.
Really?
Instagram.com/Joe Apfelbaum. So my audience is watching me, and they see my story, and they see what I have, and that's how I create content. And then you need to think about, if you're going to grow, you have to grow at a location. So you have to move to location, which means that you have to be growing online, you have to be growing offline, you have to go to networking events, you got to connect with people at a place. Where is that place that you're connecting with people? And the last thing you need, once you have your creation location, you need to actually take consistent action on a regular basis. So when I talk about creation, I think about how many articles, if you're an expert, how many articles have you written on LinkedIn? How many articles have you written on LinkedIn in the past year? And most people say 1 or 0. I've written 100 articles. If you go to my LinkedIn, you'll see I have 100 articles that I've written over the past couple of years. And my most recent article talks all about sales enablement and the 7 questions you need to ask if you want to grow a B2B business. You need to ask these 7 questions to yourself if you want to grow your business. So that adds value. And I send this information. Like I just was featured on a podcast today that I shared on my Facebook. I shared it on my LinkedIn. I shared it on my Twitter. And I had a conversation with somebody, and he's like, Joe, what do you do? Tell me more. And I said, listen, our conference is ending. Why don't you, I'm going to email you right now a link to a 45-minute podcast that I did. In the first 15 minutes talks exactly about how I do sales enablement and how we help people with lead nurturing and growing businesses, the way that we do it, the method that we take. And he's like, awesome, I'm going to listen to that podcast on my way home. And I also have my own podcast where I'm creating information and I meet new people as a result of them coming to my podcast. I have a podcast, ajaxunion.com/podcast, and I have a podcast on my personal website, joeapfelbaum.com. I have something called the Breakthrough Maze where I coach people live. I record it and then I post it for free for other people to get coaching from me, because some people want to get coaching from me and they can't necessarily afford my coaching services, so that they can get coaching for free through my podcast. So, and take this action.
Okay, now this happens to a guest sometimes. I'm taking in all the information, and I have to remember that I'm on the radio, and dead air is like not an awesome thing for radio. Because a lot of times I feel like I'm having a conversation and I'm thinking, but you just said a mouthful there. Let me ask you something. It sounds like you don't necessarily put all the same content in all of the places. Like, it sounds to me like you might do one kind of content on Instagram. I just want to clarify that. Like, you do some things specifically for LinkedIn, and you do other things specifically for YouTube or Instagram or whatever.
So on LinkedIn, it's more of a business audience.
Right.
Right? LinkedIn is a business audience. Instagram, it's a different type of audience, a little bit of a younger audience. Facebook is a little bit of an older audience.
Thanks.
Twitter, it's a little bit of an more ADD like audience. So I have a different message that I use for the different things. So on LinkedIn, I'll create a custom video for LinkedIn every single week. I'll create a custom article on LinkedIn every single month. There are certain things I do on LinkedIn. And there are certain things I do on Facebook. I have a Facebook group where I'm super active. And that's where I do my Facebook. And then Instagram, I have stories. I don't do stories on Facebook. I do stories on Instagram. And I go live on Instagram. And I go live within Facebook as well, but I do it in a different way.
I love that. That's fantastic. And I'll bet it's part of your written marketing strategy.
Absolutely. For my business, we sit down, we decide what we're going to do, where we're going to do it, what platform we're going to share, who the target audience is. You know, a lot of people, they go out, and whether you're networking or you're marketing, I believe networking is a form of marketing, and that's why I'm so passionate about it, because I love marketing. I don't just love the market, but I love marketing as well. And the crazy thing is that people don't have their target. When you're going out to hunt, if you just try to hunt everything, you're going to end up leaving hungry. You got to know what you're going after. In the stock market, it's the same way. You make your money when you buy the shares. You don't make your money when you sell. You actually lose your money if you try to sell, because you're going to end up chasing the stock all the way to the bottom. You have to decide when you buy where you're going to sell, and that's how I consistently make 1 to 5 to 10% on every trade that I make, because I know where I'm going to sell. When I'm buying, I already planned that out.
I love that. That's fantastic. Okay, listen, we're up against the close of the show. Before we go, tell everybody where they can find you. You mentioned a couple of places during the show, but just wrap that all up, if you would, and tell us where we can find you and avail ourselves of your services.
If you'd like to learn more about networking, you can email me, joe@joeapfelbaum.com, and I will send you information about my networking masterclass. If you want to learn how to create your very own written digital marketing strategy, attend our bootcamp at ajaxunion.com/bootcamp. And of course, you can find me on social media. Just search Joe Apfelbaum, that's APFELBAUM, and you will find me everywhere. I have thousands and thousands and thousands of things online. Connect with me on Facebook, on Twitter, on LinkedIn, on Instagram. And I look forward to staying motivated and adding value to your life.
I love it. I just want to let you know what another comment in the Facey chat before we leave. Charlene says, I love this man. Thank you for having him on. And I love him too. And I hope that you will seriously come back. Thank you so much for being on the show today.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
You rock. I want to thank everybody in the Facey chat for watching today. Everybody in SHR Media and High Place MoneyTalk Radio Land. Thank you so much for listening. Those of you who downloaded this as a podcast, you know you rock hard as well. I appreciate you. I want you to remember that all of this is very important, because after all, it's your money. Have a great night.
Yay.
Oh, give me one more second. We're almost done. Well, we're kind of done.